Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great privilege to have this opportunity to address to you today, as rightly was said, on behalf of my president and my people. Because every problem has a solution. Cannot argue with this statement. Just having in mind the history of my own country would add not always that it has long-term solutions. Maybe today we have to think or consider together what must be done to guarantee a long-lasting solutions for the challenges of nowadays. Today, November 24th, exactly 9 months since Russia started its full-scale invasion in Ukraine. 9 months since the world been not only witnessing, but also experiencing the consequences of Russia's war of choice. But let me also tell you, for Ukraine, this war lasts much longer than 30 years of our independence, even longer than 100 years. For us, the war for freedom has been going on for over 400 years and goes back to the 16th century when the Russian Empire made Ukraine its colony. For 400 years of our struggle for freedom, Ukraine experienced lots of repressive acts by Russia. We starved, were killed, Ukrainians were forbidden to speak their native language. But Ukrainians have not lost neither their national identity, our culture, nor our desire for freedom. After all, Moscow knows very well that the only way to make and to take away Ukrainians' freedom is by taking our lives. That is why the Kremlin's rhetoric so often sounds like ideas about the complete destructions of Ukrainians, actually the genocide. On the other hand, what else can be expected from terrorists? Thousands of Ukrainians left without homes. Millions of Ukrainians were forced to live abroad, out of Ukraine. Dozens of thousands killed and wounded. Terrorists who are capable of shooting energy facilities for months do not hide that this blackmail is intended to force Ukraine to make concessions and change its foreign policy. Terrorists are ready to take the entire African continent hostage to food security, to make starve the most vulnerable inhabitants of African countries, only to force the world and Ukraine to recognize an annexation and turn a blind eye to Russia's shameful crimes in Ukraine, murders, rapes, and forced deportation of adults and children to the territory of Russia. We know and understand the pain of African countries, where the restoration of historical justice still requires the efforts of many people and the international community. But we in Ukraine are convinced that the truth should be known about those whose lives and freedoms were oppressed. Only since 24th of February, Ukrainian law enforcement agencies registered damage or destruction of 62,000 civilian infrastructure facilities, residential buildings, houses, roads, bridges, 1,970 educational and 398 medical institutions, cultural and religious buildings, 5,322 water and electricity networks damaged or destroyed. Yesterday, another massive missile attack left us all the country in darkness. But even in the dark, we see the real face of Russia. Greedy, coward, miserable, defeated already. Yes, we stay without electricity, we stay without water, without heat, but we stay without Russia. Russia must and will be held accountable for the war crimes, for violation of international and humanitarian law, for environmental damage. For that, imagine 1/3 of the territory of Ukraine needs demining today. For each and every life lost. This is why it is so important to apply sanctions against the aggressor country and against individual oligarchs who profit from the shortcomings of the system and finance corruption both in their own country and in other countries. Some time ago, Ukraine, as one of the founding countries of the USSR, was involved in the fight against apartheid in South Africa. Everyone knows in the world and in Ukraine that South Africa was once a center of the struggle for truth and freedom. For this, outstanding leaders of South Africa gave their lives and sacrificed freedom. For this, many ordinary citizens gave their lives, health, whose struggle is significant because they were people from people, like me and you, who simply did not want and could not tolerate injustice. Today the struggle continues. Ukrainians today are a nation that fight for truth and freedom. Once in South Africa and now in Ukraine, people and humanity are the central ideas of our struggle. People who have the right to freely choose their leaders and the path of development of their country. People who have the right to freedom, education, self-realization, for freedom of conscience, of freedom of expression, for a decent standard of living, job, pension. This is exactly what we Ukrainians are fighting for. And it is this right that Russia wants to take from us by shelling peaceful cities, depriving us of heat, light, water, demanding to make decisions based on her imperial interests against our will, our choice, and our decision. We have to pay our lives for the right to choose our own path, because otherwise Russia threatens to wipe us off the face of the earth. De-Ukraine Ukraine, as Russian political technologists wrote in their ignoble articles about what Russia should do to Ukraine. But we cannot and must not allow this to happen. That is why we all must join our efforts. Ukrainians and South Africans must stand together to protect people and humanity, our joint values. Today, I encourage you to speak the truth. We must resist the lies and propaganda spread by Russia along with the fear and terrorism. Her lies can incite discord and sow enmity. So it is so important to unite and oppose this evil. That is why I'm using this opportunity to address you on behalf of my president, government, my people. Seek truth and justice for Africa, for Ukraine. Only together, all together, we can stop the suffering of Ukrainian people and stop Russia. Support Ukraine and Ukrainians, because to support Ukraine is to support the struggle for freedom, justice, and to be a person of values, to support truth. We need as many voices in South Africa as possible in order to stop humanitarian crisis. You can do it in a way that is affordable for you, disregarding your positions. Express openly your solidarity with our people, please. You can donate to support Ukraine as well. You can demand that Russia stops killing Ukrainians. Each of you has ways you can support the peace and justice that South Africa was and that Ukraine is fighting for today. I appeal to you, do not stay away. Do not be indifferent, because indifference and lies are killing with the same force as Russians' missiles. Stand with Ukraine. We are grateful to those who stands against injustice with solidarity to Ukraine. To name a few, Daily Maverick, Desmond Tutu Foundation, Graça Machel Foundation, Gift of the Givers, Dr. Rampele Mampele, and many others. Millions of South Africans. Thank you for this. It is the end of the year. Time to summarize results of the year, to build new plans, to make a wish. Let me wish all of us that the justice prevails, the truth defeats lies. I wish all of us peace and freedom, because no one can take freedom from the people. And me, all I want for Christmas is peace and more anti-missile systems for Ukraine. Be brave as you can, South Africans, as you were. Be brave like Ukraine is forced to be today. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you.